Okay, so for years the debate has rumbled on whether Rangers and Celtic could compete in the Premier League. Well, in this video we're going to find out. So what I have done is I have taken two teams out of the Premier League and replaced them with the old firm. So let's have a look who we've taken out. We've taken out Luton and Sheffield United out of the Premier League, relegation candidates who are never really going to challenge, and replaced them with the two big teams in Scotland. And just to make it slightly more interesting, we have brought back their current managers as our assistants, and we've left them in charge of absolutely everything, which means they are going to be doing transfers, tactics. They are going to play how they would if they were just left alone in Scotland, and that means there's very little input from us to see how they will do. It's purely based on what they have at the start of the game. So as it stands, we have got Brendan Rodgers in at Celtic as our assistant manager, and at Rangers we have got Philippe Clement. Be interesting to see how we get on. It's going to be really interesting. We've got 5 years to see how much they can achieve in the English leagues and whether they really are as good as they've claimed. So let's get on with the first season. Right, so season 1 is now done. Let's have a look how they both got on. We'll start with going through the league, and then we'll look at the Celtics Cup performance, and then the player stats, and we'll do Rangers, and so on. So they both finished lower half of the table, 14th and 15th. In fact, there's only 3 points separated them. So a lot when you consider normally that sometimes the gap in the SPL is a lot bigger. That just shows that they're not that far apart. So, let's see, 41 points for Rangers, and that is 44 points for Celtic. Rangers finished on a run of 5 defeats, which isn't great. They actually got beat 6-1 by Nottingham Forest. And Rangers lost 4 out of their last 5, and they actually beat Villa, but they got battered 6-1 by Burnley. Oh no, they beat Wolves, sorry. Okay, so yeah, I mean, not terrible. Let's have a look at the competition performance for Celtic. They went out of the Champions League in the group stages and knocked out in the round of 16 in the Europa League by Roma, knocked out in the 4th round of the FA Cup by Liverpool, and the 4th round of the Carabao Cup by Southampton. So yeah, not amazing. In terms of their top performers then, top goal scorer was Kyogo Furuhashi. He got 11 goals. David Turnbull, who is leaving. Let's go to Saudi. He got 10. Matt O'Reilly 9. And your main assist maker, Lee Abdada, who got 9. Haksabranovic got 7. Mikey Johnson 6. So, you know, not terrible. Let's have a look at goalkeeper-wise. Joe Hart obviously was the goalkeeper. He played for pretty much all the games, 48 games. He conceded 75 goals in all competitions. That is, that's shocking. All right, then let's have a look how we did with Rangers. Now we obviously know in the league, in the Champions League, we got 1 point. Knocked out in the group stages. Let's have a quick look at that group. So Barcelona, Inter, and Newcastle. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a tougher group. That is really difficult. You know, but we only got 1 point. We conceded 16 goals. Scored 10. We scored more goals than Newcastle. You know, that says something. Knocked out the 4th round of the FA Cup by West Brom, and 3rd round of the Carabao Cup by Fulham. So if we have a look at the players, Danilo, 19 goals all season. Kemar Roof got 9. Yilmaz got 6. And then in terms of assists, Borna Barisic got 9. Yilmaz got 8. And Ryan Jack got 6. So again, you know, not terrible. And goalkeepers, Jack Butland, obviously the mainstay, he conceded 89 goals over the course of the season. So not great, if we're being honest. However, you know, not the worst first seasons for these two. Obviously, like I said, we are leaving these guys in charge of transfers. Let's have a look if they have got anybody. So Angel Alcaron is going to Barcelona from Rangers for 400,000. Did they do any business though? Let's have a look. Is he coming in? Have I read that wrong? He's coming in, so we've actually got Angel Alcaron coming into Rangers, from Barcelona for 400,000. So that's not a bad transfer. So that's pretty good, to be fair. Danilo obviously joined last season as well. In terms of players that left, Scott Wright went to Bristol City. So that is Rangers. What about Celtic? Let's have a look at their transfers very quickly. So they brought Sam Curtis in from St Patrick Athletic. They did bring Liam Bonnetig in from Western Sydney. Paolo Bernardo on a loan. And then players that left. Evan Easton went to Sheffield United. There's not a great deal there, and there's nothing kind of scheduled apart from David Turnbull to leave. So what we'll do is we'll jump on to the start of the next season. We'll see who they bring in. And then we'll have a look to see what happens. Alright, so just before we get into the new season, let's show you who they've brought in. One signing for Celtic. There is one player going for a work pit, I'll show you in a second. They've signed Savio from Troyes. 17.75 million up front, possibly rising to 22. Let's have a look at him. So he is a left winger. Very good on the ball, good dribbling ability. And very good technique, as you would expect from a young Brazilian, and only 20 years old. What a signing he could be. And they have let go Liam Scales and David Turnbull. But as I said, they do also have Wahid Fagir from Stuttgart coming in. 2.8 up front, could rise to 4.5, and he is a striker. Again, only 21, so that's what they're looking to go for. And if we go over to Rangers, they currently don't have anybody coming in. These are all potentially leaving. There's a couple of rejected bids, but let's have a look at theirs. So they spent 15.5, recouped 11. So Tom Lawrence has gone to Plymouth and Alex Lowry's gone to Brentford. Big money for him, potentially £16 million. Obviously, we knew Angel Alcaron was coming in. They brought in Robbie Ure, 20 years old, Scottish. He was at Anderlecht, got released. So he was at Rangers, got released, went to Anderlecht, got released, and Rangers have brought him back. Fair enough. They've got Junior Krupe in from Lorient, attacking central midfielder, 18 years old, French. And they've got Michael Keane coming in for Everton, 31-year-old centre-back. So they're strengthening that part of the field as well. So it'll be interesting how these two do this season. Obviously, there's going to be more money coming into the clubs as they go on through this 5-year test, 5-year experiment, I suppose, and let's see if they can improve on last year's. In terms of competitions, Rangers are in the they've kept the Champions Leagues as well, which is interesting. So they get it through the Scottish stuff. So Rangers are in the Champions League, and they're expected to fight bravely against relegation. If we quickly look again, you've got Champions League football. Celtic just avoid relegation, so the board are expecting Rangers to get relegated this year. It could be interesting. Let's see if they can improve and get above maybe a mid-table finish and go from there with it. So see how they get on. Right then, the second season's finished, so as we did last time, we'll see how they got on in the league, and then we'll have a look at Rangers first and Celtic. And it's bad news for the two Old Firm teams, as they both got relegated. I mean, Rangers got 18 points. That's shocking. That really is bad. Minus 65 goal difference. Yeah, not great. Let's have a look at the competitions. Didn't even qualify for the Champions League. Third round of the FA Cup. Third round of the Carabao. And were knocked out in the playoffs for the Europa League. Didn't even get into Europe. So pretty bang average. If we look at the goals, there weren't many. Junior Croupier got 10. He's now leaving to go to Nice. Which isn't great news really for these guys, is it? Let's be honest. We really kind of needed him to come good, I suppose, but he hasn't done. So yeah, not a great season for them overall. And if we look at Celtic, knocked out in the groups of the Champions League, got to the 5th round of the FA Cup, but knocked out. They lost to Plymouth in the Carabao Cup. I actually think the Championship could be a lot harder than probably Old Firm teams fans think in terms of these two clubs getting out of it and getting back to the Premier League. If we look at the goals and assists, Odin Thiago Holm, a holding midfielder, scored 9 goals. Savio got 8. And Furuhishi got 7. So they were shared around. But it's going to be a tough bounce back. The only good thing is they will get parachute payments, means they're going to come into some decent money. So they could strengthen the team if they really want to. That promises to look pretty positive for them. So let's see what business they do over the summer, if they bring anybody in. Have they got anybody coming in at the moment? No, just him going out. Did they sign anybody in January? Let's have a look. They did do quite a lot of business in January. Charlie Crew from Leeds, Lazzarari from Lazio, Daniel Podence came in, Orabuana from Sassuolo, and Zach Mitchell. So they did spend money. They spent £27 million. Alistair Johnson went to Saudi for 30 million and Cameron Carter Vickers left as well. So they brought in £50 million in the January transfer window, Celtic. They've got to do something. I mean, they've got so much money in the bank. They've got £249 million in the bank. They could, I mean, how much have Rangers got? Let's just have a look at their finances. 125 million. They could theoretically strengthen their team no end and really come back. Remember, it's not us doing the transfers. We've left it running as it would normally. They obviously wouldn't have that money, so let's see what they do. Anyway, we'll jump forward to the start of next season and see what business they do over the summer and look ahead to the Championship. Right then, Season 3 is about to get underway, and we open with an old firm derby, which I think is really cool. So let's have a look first. We'll do Rangers first. Transfers in. No pending at the moment. Got one transfer out, which is ready to be offered or accepted. So Todd Cantwell has left Rangers, 8.25 million, going to Hull. And they've spent 18 million. Jack Rodoni coming in from Huddersfield, 15, could rise to 18.5. And Dan Noidoy from Bologna for 3.8 million. So they've not done a lot of business. Now, if we do have a quick look at Celtic's business, it's much the same. 4.3 million spent, and that was all on Thierry Small from Southampton. They signed Ajani Birchall on a free transfer, which I find quite surprising that a lot of this is cheap deals. You've got so much money. I'll show you the finances as well before we go into this season, because honestly, I don't understand what the AI is doing. But he was released by Aston Villa. I mean, let's be honest, he's played most of his games in the Welsh Premier at Penabont, so he's not really going to be setting the world alight. Players out though, Anabuana has gone to Al Hazim for 7 million, Hyunjin's gone to Frankfurt, Stephen Welsh to Stoke, and Haska Bonovic has gone to Almira for around about 13 million, including add-ons. So yeah, let's have a look at the finances of Celtic. £340 million in the bank. £73.5 million transfer budget, and they're not spending it. I mean, it doesn't make sense. If we look at Rangers very quickly before we get this season underway, £215 million in the bank and a £50 million transfer. I mean, their wages, they've got $500,000 a week in the wage budget. They've got a real chance to bounce straight back here, and they're not invest into what I would have expected, but still we are letting the AI, remember, run it, letting Clement and Brendan Rodgers just run it as they would do normally on the computer. But I would have expected them to have spent more money. I find that very, very surprising. In terms of the Sky Bet Championship season preview, Celtic are predicted to finish third, 13-8 to win the league. Rangers down at 7th, 12-1 to win the league. With Fulham and Leicester predicted for the top two. So quite surprising that these two big clubs from Scotland aren't 1 and 2 in this. So it'll be interesting to see if Celtic bounce back first time of asking, or if Rangers do in season 3. Hopefully one of them do, but I don't hold any hope for Rangers, if I'm honest. Maybe they'll spend some money. There's still some time left open in the transfer window. The season gets underway in just under a week, so you never know. And obviously they might go big in January. Anyway, let's get season 3 in the books and see who goes up. Right then, let's have a look at how we got on in the first season after these two teams got relegated. So we'll start with Celtic. They finished 8th. 73 points plus goal difference at 13, which isn't terrible. Did lose 15 games though. And if we look at Rangers, they were down in mid-table in 12th. They actually scored 94 goals. That is, I think, third highest in the entire league, but they conceded 78. So defensive issues for Rangers is needs to be fixed over the summer. 66 points. So not fantastic. Again, these two clubs stayed in Europe just because of how I've moved them over. So actually, Celtic were the most competitive they've been at any point in the Champions League during this experiment. Getting to the round of 16 but losing to Chelsea. They got to the 4th round of the FA Cup, lost to Liverpool, and were knocked out in the 3rd round of the Carabao Cup by Southampton. In terms of transfer deals then, they've got Johnny joining on a full-time transfer, 4.8 million from Wolves. Good transfer that. Now, what I did do for both of these teams as well is I changed it from the manager doing the transfers to the director of football. Thought that might encourage them just to spend a little bit more money, and I changed that for the January transfer window. And it definitely did. In January, they signed these players here. So Valentin Yotov from FC Bayern 2, only a small fee, 75,000. Then they bought Ruben Duarte from Alves, 4.4. Noah Kjalajic from Mainz, again, small transfer fee at 48.5 thousand. Then Ilya Gurev from Leeds for 8.5, and another youngster from Borussia Mönchengladbach 2. That is a tongue twister. They did recoup an awful lot of money as well, £73 million in transfers leaving the club. So you would think they've got money to spend, £184 million in the transfer key as we enter this summer. Surely they're going to spend some money. I mean, that is a ridiculous transfer budget. It really is. Let's have a look how Rangers got on. If we go to their competitions, they got to the knockout. They only got to the knockouts of the playoff round of the Europa League. Were knocked out by Nice. Lost to Salford in the FA Cup, 4th round, and 2nd round were knocked out by Leicester. Transfers again, there's a couple going out. Craig Allen and Robbie Ure are leaving, both on free transfers. And if we go to their history, we did the same for these again. In January, they signed Marcel Gucinic from MK Dons, he was a free. Philip Billing from Bournemouth for what could rise to 11 million. And Jamie Walling from Hoffenheim 2, and recouped 18 million. So not quite as good as Celtic, and their budget isn't anywhere near as good, £23 million. Nowhere near as much in the bank. It's going to be interesting how they can build on this summer, because they've been really poor in comparison to Celtic this season and last, really, and the season before. So it's going to be interesting. So we'll get the summer over with now. We'll see who they bring in, and then we will have a look to see what they do in season 4. Hopefully one of these teams can get back to the Premier League. We don't want both old firm teams to find themselves in the Championship as we enter the last season of this rebuild. So hopefully one of them will get promoted this season. Right then, let's get season 4 underway. So, quick season preview. Let's have a look where the teams are expected to finish after a pretty dire first season for Rangers, and not a great one for Celtic either in the Championship. Celtic predicted to finish second at 2-1 to win the league. Rangers have moved up to 4th at 4-1. So obviously the bookies and the media think they have strengthened enough over the summer to really push for promotion. So let's have a look at Rangers details first. So these players are going out on loan. Transfer history wise, they spent 17.25 million. The bulk of that on Dennis Sirkin from Southampton. He does look a decent player, competent wing back, only young as well, so you see the club's philosophy coming through there. And they did have 16 million going out as well, and the bulk of that was Yanis Hagi, who went to Hull. They also signed Dujon Sterling, so actually Hull gave us 16 million pounds, which is very interesting. In terms of Celtic's transfers, they have got a little bit. I mean, they've spent a lot less than they've had come in. 29 million brought in, the bulk of that on Owen Hyun Guo. He's gone to Leicester for what could rise to 23.5, so that's pretty good. And Thierry Small went to Hull. Hull have really strengthened this season, as they're in the Championship as well. They'll be looking to really push for the playoffs. Coming in, Bayern Odin from Tottenham, just under £500,000. George Morgan from Everton on a free. He's a youth player. He's never going to get in the first team. Johnny from Wolves, that was actually 8.75. I'm sure it said 4.8 at the end of last season. Very strange. Andrew Bevan is coming on a free transfer. He is obviously a regen, just been released by Fulham. And Simon Walde has signed from Mainz, could rise to 6.75. Decent right back. Not going to set the world alight. And when you look at how much money they have left, let's just go to the finances page. £177 million still in the key. They've got £2 million surplus in the wage budget. Seriously, for Celtic, what are you doing? You've got more than enough money just to blitz this league, and you're not doing it. I'm really curious. Let's have a look at, if we go to the transfer lists and stuff, let's have a look who's listed for transfers in top abilities. You've got Imran Louza at Leicester. Brennan Johnson, he's listed for transfer. These are all players that would sign for Celtic as well. Dardy, Paulinho at Newcastle, Pereira from Brentford. You could really dominate this league, and they're not spending money. Anyway, I know what I'd do. We're letting the AI take over this. So let's see how they get on in Season 4. Can both of these teams or just one of them get back into the Premier League? Right, end of Season 4. Let's have a look how we got on now. That I didn't expect this. Rangers have gone up. 3rd place finish. We're up through the playoffs. 81 points. Still leaky at the back, but they're still scoring goals. 91 scored, 69 conceded. I didn't expect Celtic to struggle as much as they did. They finished 10th. They just can't score goals. 65 goals, 55 conceded. One of the better defences in the league, but they can't score. So it just shows that power up front is really what you need if you're going to succeed in this league. So Rangers have gone up. In terms of transfers, then Rangers brought in January, none. They didn't even strengthen the team once. I think that's pretty impressive. They did bring Jack Stacey in after the start of the season for what could rise to just under 12 million. But again, pretty good summer for them with transfer-wise. Celtic, they did spend money, in the January window, and they did spend money after we started the season. So we started the season. They made all these signings here. So Kamari, Brennan, Duarte, Theo Flanagan, Kister, Marincao, O'Neill, Cullen, Hollingshead, and Harangi. But only two of those players, were above £1 million. Why are they spending so little money? I can't get my head around it. In terms of finances, again, then Celtic have £177 million to try and get out of the Championship in the last season, and Rangers have got £48 million to try and stay in the Premier League. So we'll see where they both finish up at the end of Season 5, and we'll have a look to find out what's going on. Right, let's get on with the next season. All right, then our 5th season's in the books. Let's see how we got on. Now, we're going to start with Rangers, because Rangers were in the Premier League. How did they get on? Well, not good. They finished rock bottom. 31 points. I mean, their season to get promoted was a massive outlier. I kind of expected them to get relegated, if I'm honest. Transfer-wise, let's have a look at their transfers. They spent £63 million, so they did go pretty big to try and stay in there. Daniel Johns from Cardiff. They brought in Vasquez Barquez from Utrecht, Linton Maynard from Colne, and they went big on Daniel Bollard from Sunderland, £22 million at the back, who played 30 games, which isn't, not terrible, but he didn't have a great kind of season by the looks of that. So not amazing, but it could have been worse. They were in Europe. They got knocked out in the league phase of the Champions League, 3rd round of the FA Cup by Blackpool, and 4th round of the League Cup by Villa. So there's been no silverware apart from the playoffs for Rangers. A real shame. Let's just have a quick look at their top scorer. Danilo was their top scorer with 14. He's been pretty decent since he came in. So he was bought in the first season for £5 million. He scored 14 in his first season in the Prem, then he had a bad season, but then he scored 20 and 16 in the Championship and 12 this season. So not terrible, but we probably needed him to step up a little bit more. Let's have a look how Celtic got on then. So they had a shocker. They finished 12th in the Championship, got through to the playoffs, I think that is, knocked out in the League Path playoff by Sporting in the Champions League, 3rd round of the FA Cup by Sunderland. They were knocked out in the quarterfinals of the Europa League by Nice. That is by far the best either one of these two teams have done in Europe, so that's pretty good. And they were knocked out in the 4th round of the League Cup by Arsenal. So finance-wise, Celtic in a really strong position, 350 million in the bank. Who scored their goals this season? Let's have a look. We had 28 goals from Kanuzan. I mean, what a player he looks to be. Signed last season for 8.7 million and just honestly took over. Duarte got 15, Savio 12. So when you look at the goals, they're there. The problem is Conan Boyce Clark, who played in goal, 25 years old, 21 million they spent on him from Reading. He conceded 84 goals over the course of the season. He did have 20 clean sheets, which means in 46 games he conceded 84 goals. I mean, that's like 2 goals a game, near enough. That's pretty shocking. Yeah, not great. But let's have a quick look at Rangers' financials. Obviously, they were nowhere near as good as Celtics. They've got 153 million in the bank as we finish this. They do only have a £5 million budget going into the season where they get relegated. So not a great 5 years for the two Old Firm clubs. However, I would go as far to say as Rangers came out on top just because they had that extra season in the Premier League. Celtic couldn't get back there. So let me know in the comments who you thought did better in this. Rangers didn't do as well financially, but played at a high level more than Celtic. So that's how we go. We've got another one of these coming out as well, where we're going to remove the top 6 from the Premier League, put them in League 2, and completely remove their squads. That'll be out next week for you. Right, I hope you've enjoyed it. Remember, hit subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers, guys.